today I've got the garage review plus 8 tanker gameplay on the Season Pass reward vehicle, the Stone Cold Steve Austin TL-1 LPC. This is a tank that is I don't know, you'll have seen videos from Turkey Swindle and lots of other contributors who have played this tank already, and it's kind of ridiculous. It's a fantastic tank. It's very, very powerful. It's just a good it's a good all-rounder, I'd say. But without further ado, let's get more down into what it's got. So, in general, it looks okay. You can arrive, raise hell, leave, okay? Yeah, it could be worse. I mean, to be honest, the skin ain't that bad. It could be like the monster tanks where it's really garish, but whatever, I'll take it. It looks like a tank, that's the main thing, isn't it, really? So, in terms of the stats, it's got an interesting one. There's 2 guns. There's this gun, which is the gun I'd always recommend, and that is the double tap autoloader. This gun is fantastic. It's got 2.6 aim time, 0.4 accuracy, 6.27 rounds a minute, 208 penetration on its AP, and 280 penetration heat rounds, which, by the way, those heat rounds are filthy. And this is one of those tanks that doesn't really have to worry about being bottom tier because of the heat rounds. Gets you out of a jam quite nicely. It's got 178 turret armor, which is okay. It's one of those things where it can be alright. You can pull off the odd ricochet on it when you hull down. Yeah, it's okay. Turret traverse is quite decent, so you're not going to get outdone by light tanks when they come around. Same as the track traverse. The view range is good at 400 meters. There's a lot of tanks at this tier with 380, 390, 400 is very, very good. The horsepower is 665, which means it does get up to speed quite nicely. And it's just the better gun. That double tap is just the better gun. Okay, so here is the single shot. So it's got 2.3 second aim time instead of the 2.6 that the double tap has. It's got 0.38 accuracy instead of the 0.4 that the double tap has. But it's got 6.06 round rate of fire, round a minute. Okay? That's worse than the double tap. It's worse. Your DPM's worse. In lieu of having better aim time and better accuracy. Okay? The better aim time it's noticeably different, and it's quite, you know, the 2.3 to 2.6 is quite nice. Is it worth the DPM loss? No. 0.38 accuracy instead of 0.4. The difference you feel in the gun is negligible. No, this gun, just no. I will tell you now, both replays after this are both using the double tap, and that is because I've not been able to have a good game with this single shot. Now, ace tankers are quite hard to come by on this tank at the minute because of what the double tap can do, and this single shot just cannot hold a candle to the double tap. The games you can pull off with the double tap are fantastic. It's an amazing gun. This gun it feels terrible, to be honest. I don't like it at all. So that's why the 2 games after this will be double taps. So let's look at it using this. So we've got the 18 horsepower per ton. Like I say, it gets up to speed quite nicely. It's okay. Mobility's alright. It can get into good positions. 50 km/h top speed is good for a medium tank. 20 km/h reverse speed. It can get out of situations, back round corners very quickly, and that's very good. 20 km/h is always good. 15% fire chance, but I mean fire chance is generally just pure RNG. So here we go. The base reload is 18 seconds. I think it's down to about 15 seconds fully pimped like I've got it. So that's Brothers in Arms, food, and vents, because it doesn't run a rammer. So it's 2.6 aim time, 0.4 accuracy, 2.8 dispersion on the move, and 1.52. See, I don't think that's too bad. I'm not the expert in those sorts of things, but it doesn't feel bad. You turn the tank and the bloom doesn't become too huge. It seems to stay relatively aimed in okay. My feeling with this double tap gun is it's been good. The handling feels great, and that's just the way it is. It's got 9 degrees of gun depression, which is good on a medium tank. It's not quite 10, which is the like fantastic par level, but it's close enough, isn't it? 9 degrees. 2 shots in the clip, which is why it's a double tap. It's fantastic because you drop 2 shots into people for 280. That's the other thing. 280 alpha on the 90mm is better than a lot of other tanks with the 90mm. Usually with these guns it's 240 alpha, so 280 is really nice because you can roll above 300, and it does. Well, you can roll above 300 with 240 alpha, but it seems to do it with a lot more regularity with 280 than it would with 240, and that is very nice. Like, the lowest you can roll, as you can see, is 210, and the max is 350. It's not often you see down to the 240 range, in my experience of playing the tank, and it's very nice in that way. So, the other amazing thing about this tank is the intraclip. Look at that, 1.13 intraclip reload. That is fantastic. That means you spit them out really quick and you pull back. So before someone, it's another case of before someone's blinked, you've damaged them quite heavily. So 280, you know, you're at, what, 560? Quick maths, terrible at maths, so yeah, don't shoot me. Yeah, 560 in 2 shots, and you pull back. So before someone's blinked, you've done that to them. And then you're reloading in 15 seconds, which is really good. So you're pumping out damage a lot faster than a lot of tanks. The DPM on this double tap is really, really nice. And it's just very, very effective at what it does. And that's why it's so good. That's why this tank is just strong, because it's very, very good. So as you can see, with the shell velocity on the AP, it's 914. That's not the quickest. It's quite... You do feel it. It kind of spits it out at a looping shell sometimes, and that's what it kind of feels like. It kind of loops out the barrel, and that does make it feel a bit derpier and a bit worse on the gun handling. But the one thing that is weird is the heat shells. The heat shells have 1219 meters a second velocity. That's ridiculous. That's so quick for a heat round. Heat rounds generally land about 1,000 meters a second, or slower than that. 1219 meters a second is really quick, and it's similar on the Undertaker as well with that heat shell, and they're just ridiculous. I never quite understand why premium round, why that happens. I'd much prefer it if you had a standard round that had better shell velocity than the premium round, unless it's obviously AP and APCR, which APCR is always going to have better shell velocity because APCR is good for that. So really, in my opinion, I'd have preferred it if the AP was 1200 and the heat was 900. That's probably the better way round, because that just makes this heat shell ridiculous. Quite honestly, this heat shell just becomes stupidly good with that shell velocity, because you don't have to lead as much. You've got 280 pen, which is crazy. The only issue with it is the fact that it's a heat shell, which means it just gets absorbed by random spaced armor. So, yeah, it's just ridiculous. That's why, when you're bottom tier, it doesn't matter, because the heat shell just makes it usable. And as you'll see, both replays that are going to come up are bottom tier, and pretty heavily bottom tier as well. And we make the best of it. The HE shell isn't the best. At tier 8, there's a lot of tier 6 and 7 artillery you can pen with the HE. There's not much with the tier 8, 9, 10, because you start to get a bit more that are, quite a few more that are a bit more heavily armoured. I think really it's only the French and the American that you might that you won't struggle with, that you will pen. So, in terms of the armour, 177mm on the turret. As you can see, it's quite nicely rounded. I'm not going to say that this turret is good. Okay, it's solid. I'd say it's solid. in facing tanks that are lower tier. This is a turret that is very good against tier 6s. For the most part, it will bounce them probably effectively, especially if you're using your gun depression, okay? You're probably looking at 190 effective on the turret. So if things don't have 190 pen, they're going to bounce. But if you're on flat ground, if they've got about 180 plus, they're going through your turret. No problem. But if you're using your gun depression, it could pull off quite a few ricochets. So against tier 6s, it's a very good turret. Against tier 7s, for the most part, it's a very good turret. As soon as you start to see your own tier at tier 8 and things start getting higher pen, and you start seeing tier 9s and tier 10s, this turret is not reliable. You might pull off the odd ricochet because, like I say, angling and just how the turret is shaped, and it's quite nice in that way. But don't rely on it. Just know that you're quite strong against lower tiers, basically. In terms of hull armour, yeah, it's not the best. 88mm angled. I don't ever think you're going to bounce anything off your upper plate. I mean, look at that 44. I mean, that's well angled, but it's just a pen for pretty much every tank going. Like I say, I mean, RNG, isn't it? You're gonna bounce the odd thing here and there, but don't rely on the hull armour. Don't rely on the armour really at all. In terms of that, unless you hull down with the turret, like I was saying earlier. In terms of side armour, you've got 50mm of side armour, which is quite nice. Means you can side scrape tanks up to what 151mm. So that's okay. So it's not like a machine which has 30mm or a 50B. Something like that, basically, with weak side armour, 30mm of side armour, where even if you're like this, you know, straight on, they can just pen. If you turn slightly like that, say if you're in a machine, they will pen you. Not in this. That doesn't work like that. 50mm of armour means that only the big Russian 152s will pen you, will go through you, and overmatch your side. So you don't want to face the Russian TDs, or the Chinese TDs for that matter. I forget that they've got 152s or 150s. But everything else, you'll be fine. It's a medium tank side armour, so you don't really want to be relying on side scraping either, but, you know, it's okay. Rear armour, don't let derp guns get your rear. If derp gun tanks get your rear, you've had it, mate. You're getting penned easily. Easy peasy. And I think, is it the same for the back of the turret? Yeah, 50mm of armour, probably angled. You're probably looking at, what, 60 to 70mm. Yeah, again, derp guns, if you let anything that's got high pen HE, and by high pen HE, I mean like 70 to 80 pen, like T49s or Turtles, or like M41 Brazilian Bulldogs, they will pen the back of your turret, the back of your, and you know, the back of your rear very, very easily. So try not to let that happen. Try and keep yourself aware that things are behind you like that. You've got 17% camo, which is not too bad either. It's pretty good for a medium tank. That's okay. So for the most part, like I say, this tank is very, very strong, and it's all about that double tap gun. I cannot stress enough not to use this single shot, okay? Use the double tap. Obviously, if you don't like autoloaders and you prefer using a single shot, then sure, use the single shot. To be fair, it's all about what you're comfortable with. My personal preference, I do not like this gun, and I know quite a few other people who say the same, that this gun just does not, that the things you gain over the other one just don't outweigh. So the pros of this gun don't outweigh the cons, okay? This gun is the one you want. It's just better in every way is what it feels like, to be honest. So stress enough, use this gun. So that's the end of this part. I'll see you in the replays, guys. So this tank, we're bottom tier. That matchmaking is not good. There's only 3 tier 8s on either team, and then the rest is all tier 9 and 10. And I remember playing this game, and I basically had played a couple of games before this. I'd been top tier 3 or 4 times, and I just number one, I crapped out. Okay, that's the first bit. I just didn't have any good games when I was bottom tier. The other thing is, the gun kept derping on me, and I kept bouncing on things that I just shouldn't bounce on. And when I saw the tier 10 matchmaking, I just went, screw this. I'm going to try, because I hadn't even fired a heat round by this point. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try out these heat rounds. I'm going to see what it's like, because this matchmaking is terrible, and I'm going to struggle with my 208 pen to pen a lot of the things on the enemy team. So let's try out the heat rounds. Let's see what we can do on this map, which the assault variant I don't like. I don't like the positioning of the spawn and where they spawn and we spawn. It just doesn't feel great, to be honest. Yeah, it's not that. It feels a bit unbalanced. I think that's what it is. Is that we come off a hill, but they get a greater portion of the map. Now, with that first shot I took with the E5, you saw the gun handling in the fact that it's 0.4 accuracy, but if you hit the weak spot on that E5, like I did with the heat, it's going to go through. And I say weak spot with, you know, inverted commas or whatever, because you need about 260 pen to go through it, which most tier 8s won't be able to deal with at all. But this 280 heat pen is great. So we're going to fluff a shot on the side of that Panzer 7's turret. Second one goes in quite nicely. Now he's just focusing this way. And we're just going to sit and wait, and hopefully he won't fire. He does, you know what, just as I decide to go and use a different position against him, he fires. Which is typical, innit? But with this 280 heat pen, we can go through his lower plate. Now this Panzer 7 is a shining example of what 208 pen on the AP rounds won't do for you. And that's because, well, he has 200 side armor. So we've got 208 pen, we'll struggle to go through it. Sure, we don't really want to be taking him on, but that's where this is where the heat rounds become ridiculously good. And this is why I was saying earlier on that this tank doesn't fear tier 10s, because you can press A and you can deal with them so easily. So right now, my teammate has abandoned me. He's ran away. Was it T-54? Yeah, T-54. He's still quite healthy, but he's just gone. He was like, I'm out of here. I'm leaving you alone. So I decided to drop my 2 shells into that Panzer 7 and then run away. And luckily, I managed to get out, but without taking any more than that 1 hit. And we're going to try and relocate and come up behind them. That's what I was thinking right now. I was thinking I want to come up behind them. I want to come up on the flank and get shots into them. So I can get it from these train tracks just over here. I can shoot down into their sides if they're just under the bridge. But this Panzer 7 pushes this T-54 comes back for some reason. And the Panzer 7 is having none of his shenanigans and just pushes him. But luckily, we get a good shot into the back, shut him down. And then this counter-panzer now rushes the T-54. Clearly, this T-54's peed someone off somewhere, because both the Tier 9 and the Tier 10 tank decided they were going to rush him. And they both lost their tanks for it. Well played, guys. Well played. So now we are going to try and flank up behind those guys that just got lit. And that's the E5, E4, brown trousers moment. There's a Death Star, but he pulls back, which, okay, is fine. We're still detected from somewhere, which is troubling. It might actually be that E75 that's in the distance at D8, because he has shots down into this position. Yeah, sure, he's got heavy tanks in front of him, but let's be honest. People's awareness sometimes is terrible. If they can see a tank and shoot it, they'll shoot at you rather than face the danger that's coming towards them at lightning speed. Because that's just the way it is. So again, we are now looking at these other guys over here and thinking, number 1, launch. Number 2, I want to get behind them. So I was thinking of possibly going in front, but I thought, you know what, actually, I don't want to take on the E4's gun. I don't want to take on the E5 from the front either. So I think, you know what, I'll come up behind them. And then the E5's turned around. Okay, I don't know why. So both shots were low rolls, which unfortunately means we leave him on 28 health, because of course low rolls mean 2 low rolls in a row mean we can't kill him. So we've got to get another clip in, but this is, again, how fast we reload. 15.82 fully pimped. First one, unfortunately, 0.4 accuracy, showing its, you know, rearing its ugly head there. Shot over his engine deck. The second one flew in. Great. Now, we're going to get this clip in again. And then the E4's turned around. We drop the double tap into him. Luckily, he misses. There's an SU-130 PM up behind him. I don't get why they both turned around like they did, when there's tanks in front that they could pretty easily deal with, since they're an E4 and an E5. I don't know. But anyway, we shut down the E4 and reload the clip. This is another thing of having the good double tap, good reload, in the fact that I dropped that one shell to finish the E4 and I can reload dead quick. It's okay. And we come up behind the first one, heat rounds, absorbed into the side. Second one, flies in, 4 kills, 3,000 damage. Good. So we've got the kill on him. So now all that's left is the Death Star and the artillery. And we want to try it again. It's all about pushing out damage. Now it's the race to see who can get some shots into them at the end and pad up what they've done. So the artillery gets counter-batteried, because why not? And we're going to come up against this Death Star. This Death Star's got 1,300 hit points. That's not bad. That's pretty good for us. We pop a shot into his tracks, track him, and we do it again. 290. Those 2 rolls were quite nice. 316. 3,619 damage, I should say. It'd be good if I could read a screen. And we're reloading, and now that Death Star's being light tanked. And we're going to see if we can get some shots in. The Manticore's fired. The Manticore's clearly, it's got a massive reload. So there's every chance we could get there. But unfortunately for us, he shuts him down. So we end the game with 4 kills and 316 damage, 1,000 assistance, 4.6k combined in a really bottom tier match. And when that, we get Ace Tanker, a Nichols medal, which is for killing 4 enemy tanks that are 2 tiers higher. That's a medal I've only had one other time. It's very rare. I mean, that's quite a difficult medal to get. That's a medal I've not had for a very long time. I think the other medal I've got is in the Panzer IV-S, and that was from like 3 or 4 years ago. It's not a common medal to come by, so it was very nice to get in this tank. And the double tap helped me with that, in the fact that it's a very good kill securer. So when things are around the range of being low health, you're not firing once and then having to wait on the reload and then firing again. You're just going bang, bang, kill. 24 shots fired, 22 hits, 16 pens. That's a good ratio. I mean, we were at pretty close range for most of that game, and the only shells that missed were slightly badly aimed, and RNG took the shell away. Like on that E5, the first shell whiffed him, went over his engine deck, and the second shell, which was far less well aimed, went in. But that's RNG. So we're in this second match, and again, look at the matchmaking. It's bad. And we're going to go to the other flank on steps. We're going to go to the 9-0, which is where you want to be brawling your medium tanks. And a lot of our team seem to be going the other way. But that's because there's a lot of heavies, but we've got a couple of mediums with them that are going that way as well. There's a mouse over here, because why not? 30B in front of us. Now I'm thinking, should I run away? I see the machine. I don't want to leave the machine behind. We've got a Tiger 2 coming up. I don't want to... I'm thinking I should run, but I will stay in it. I'm doing my usual thing where I end up thinking, you know what? I'll stay until the last second. I'll stay until it's not too late to run away, but too late to affect what's happening on the flank. So we popped 2 shots into that 80-15 as he crossed. We've got the T-95E6 now in the open. We bounce on him, and then the second one misses. And we're just going to work this ridge line. Now, this is a fight that is kind of what the tank wants to be. You know, you want to be on a ridgeline, you want to be able to cover the weak hull, but use the turret that could pull off the odd ricochet. You want to be able to catch people that are sitting in the open and just keep double tapping. So we've missed a couple of shells now, and we're just looking at these guys in front of us, watching what they're doing, and hopefully we'll be able to keep shooting at them. The 30B keeps poking up, but then as soon as we go to look back, which means we can't do much to them as it stands, we don't want to be too aggressive on this flank as it is at the minute, because, number one, Mouse. Mouse is painful. Mouse has a lot of hit points. We can't do much to that. With 280, you know, that's one thing, again, with the 280 heat. Against a Mouse, we're not useless. Say if you're in a T-44-100 or a T-54 Mod 1, Motherland, for the skinned version. If we've loaded Prem, we'd struggle. We'd even struggle with the Mouse. Get his rear, sure, okay, you can pen. Side, as soon as he starts to angle even the slightest bit, you're not going through. The heat rounds help you with that. So we can deal with that guy. But right now we've got to be pretty passive, because it's not about overcommitting. Because the Mouse is, like I said, the Mouse has got a lot of hit points. There's a lot of tier 10s over here. We don't push too aggressively into them too early, and then just throw ourselves away. So it's kind of it's like a bit of a war of attrition, really. And I don't know why I'm firing at that T95E6's cupola with AP, because I should know from looking at it and bouncing off it multiple times. You need, as much as it's a weak spot, and you think it's a weak spot because it's a cupola, you actually need 250 pen to go through the cupola of a T95E6. Fact for the day for you there. It's actually really quite strong. Not good for its own tier, obviously. That's not going to hold up against pretty much every tank at tier 10, or most tanks at tier 9. But against tier 8, it's going to do alright, like I say. So this 30B is still being a little cheeky lad, so we're just going to keep popping shots into him. There we go, 299. Like I say, we've done just over 560 damage to him without him being able to retaliate. And if he does retaliate, he's only going to hit us for 400, so we're actually going to outtrade him. So he's got mad, clearly, and popped over and shot us. Lost a bit of health. We shut him down. And we're going to swivel, and see if we can shut down this T95E6. Just as we fire, he dies, which is unlucky, because that's 11 Schlilos down the drain. But now there's this Mouse, so we're loading the heat to deal with the Mouse. But he's intent on keeping on looking at us. Like, leave me alone, Mouse. He's got his side of turret to us. We pen it once, bounce the other. And we're going to try and keep getting shots at him. Because our guys are over there, we want to try and get a bit more of a flanking shot at him. And I don't know why I don't go a bit further away. He's looking at us again. But I don't know why I don't go further round right now. I should go down into the dip to get better shots, but I just haven't for some reason. We'll pen it again inside of the turret once, bounce again. It's a Mouse, it's not guaranteed. With 280 pound, we can go through his cheeks. And because it's heat, okay, because it's heat, doesn't lose pen over distance. So even if we're 500 meters away, we'll be able to go through the cheeks of a Mouse. Bad RNG, bad RNG. We do have his side. We can go through the turret quite nicely with the heat there. But both shells went to the far edge of the turret, which means it was at the most angled part, which is why it bounced. Annoying, but that's 0.4 accuracy for you. This Ariete is now just noped out of the flank. He's running away. We're going to pop 2 shots into him. Heat shell that we had loaded for the Mouse. One goes in, the second one gets absorbed onto his tracks, which is why I don't like heat. It's a round that I'm not a fan of, because the amount of times that you shoot things that you should always pen, but the heat round will get absorbed. You shoot a light tank in the side, okay, and you have heat loaded. And the amount of times it's happened where I'll have a heat shell loaded for a Mouse or an E100 or a Type 5, and then a pesky 13105 appears. I shoot the 13105 in the side, guaranteed pen it from firing AP. It just gets absorbed. No damage, nothing. Tracks him. Or sometimes it doesn't even track. It just gets absorbed. Nothing at all. And you sit there going, oh, okay. And that's where heat lets you down. I'm not a fan of it as a round. But when it's got such good pros as it does on this tank, it's very nice. So we caught that bat chat unawares. He caught us unawares, but we managed to react in time to shut him down as he was flying past. And we're trying to hopefully get there to save this M48 pattern. Luckily, he doesn't need saving from that guy, but this Ariete is going to shut him down. We auto-aim 2 shots into him, low roll, 2. There you go. We're up to 4k damage now, though. And we're going to go for this Ariete and hopefully get some more damage off. We're getting the reload in. He's the only one left now. There's this medium tank chasing up behind me. I'm pretty confident I'll get the damage unless artillery says hi. We auto-aim the first one, bounces off a dead wreck. Great, good job. You're an idiot for auto-aiming that. Hopefully he doesn't kill me. We get away with it. Thank you, thank you, artillery. I'll take that one. Thank you very much. So we finished the game with 4.3k damage. Ace tanker, because we shot at pretty much only tier 10s up until that end bit. Ace tanker, 4.3k damage, 649 assistance, 34 shots fired, 24 hits, 17 pens. That's more representative of what this gun does because of the 0.4 accuracy. It doesn't hit all the time, but when it's punchy, it hurts people very quickly, and it just puts out the hurt very, very good. This tank is so strong, it's so good. You're all going to love it when it comes out. I love it. It's the way it is. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.